Every culture has a way of life. Every culture has a spiritual life that there should be responsible for. We've been asking for a way of life. Now it's coming. That responsibility is coming. And we have to prepare for that. Back in 1940s, I was a growing boy, and we didn't have television, radio, nothing. Evenings were storytelling in a little community called Spring Creek on the Rosewood Sioux Reservation. In that community, we were pretty isolated in those days. Most of my teachings came from Lakota culture. Mom was a historian. She was born in 1893 in Crow Agency. And her peers were all have different specialties in telling history, story. And this is how we learn about where we come from, who we are, what our way was. We learn about spirits. We learn about medicine men. And we learn about places of importance. In 1880, the United States Congress passed a law outlawing all spiritual practices of natives across the country. It doesn't matter what tribe you belong, you cannot practice your spiritual traditions. If they know you practice any of the ceremonies, even just praying with a pipe, they're going to bury you outside of a cemetery, telling your family you're burning in hell. When you're 5 years old and your favorite uncle is buried there because he prayed with a pipe, then you learn, they taught you how horrible hell is. You're going to be terrified, imagining my uncle's burning today because he prayed with a pipe. When you're 5 years old, they raise you like that in a boarding school system. You'll never touch that pipe. So this kind of pressure finally put us underground. By 1960s, practically 100% of our people denied their Indianness. They were deathly scared of Lakota culture, especially the pipe. So I started seeking my spiritual life. Ended up with some of the medicine men that were relatives who pretty much took me in, and I helped them with sweat ceremonies, build their fire, haul wood for them, and participate. And they tell stories, they tell our history. But in those days, I used to listen to them talk about different sites, different places of ceremonies, with a sad note saying, we used to do that. And that really bothered me, because as I learned more, I began to wonder, why couldn't we do them now? You know, what's holding us back? Congress finally passed the Freedom of Indian Religion Act. And we finally started to come back to these places. And personally, I call it, I'm finally home when I'm at those sites. They said before anything, Inyan was. Before there's any life of any kind, Inyan was. Inyan was in total darkness. So Inyan began creation by draining his blood. And the first creation was a huge disc around itself, calling it Maka. And half of it was water and half was land. The color of the blood of Inyan was blue. They took the color blue out and they threw it up and it became the blue sky. Maka said, it's dark and it's cold. So Inyan created Ampetu, the sun, to give light, to give warmth. After Inyan created the sun, Maka said it's too hot and too bright. So Inyan created Haepiwi, to balance a day and night. They wanted a source of life. So Inyan created Tate, to give breath to life. And then Maka said, I need a covering. The ones that were created got together with Inyan. And then they asked Maka, if Inyan gives you a covering, you must promise to give it life and nourishment. And Maka promised that. So life began on earth. Grass, plants, and as each creation, life came on earth, another need arises, and the ones that were created will get together and decide on the next one. So the process went. And as it went, Inyan got weaker and weaker because the blood of Inyan went into every creation. And this process went on till we were the last to be created. And in our creation story, woman was created first. To be like the earth, to give life and to give nourishment. A woman has that special gift. Man was created to be like the universe. The universe protects and nourishes the earth, and together they create life. So everything that was Inyan, Wakan, meaning that Inyan had the power to give life or take life, to create or destroy. Good and bad was within Inyan, both equally powerful. All those things went into every creation. So every creation is Wakan. The day you were born, the other you born in the universe. Whatever you do on earth, that other you is doing that. That other you will send you energy. And this is where Mitake Oyase came. I'm related to the Wamakashka Wayate, the living beings of the earth. I'm related to all creation on earth. So to us, every creation has a spirit, has a life, a blade of grass, tree, everything. They have a spirit. He Sapa. He is mountain, and Sapa is black. In our language, adjectives come after the noun. So it's black mountains. That's what we call this area. And people in history said it's the heart of everything. That is. Our great-grandfathers, at one time, they call it Wizipra. Wizipra is a container of all your resources. It's interesting because today we travel and we carry a suitcase and we call it wizibra because it carries all our needs, you know. They said a man, a woman can be starving and they can walk in here into the He Sapa and will come out fully nourished, spiritually and physically. When they talk about starvation, it's not just food, it's spiritual starvation. And I think that's the one we lack the most. There are some annual journeys into the Black Hills. And all these places have energy that brings life. PeSla is the top is bald. He is the top. Shla is that there's no growth. So there's a PeSla ceremony. A delegation would go there, wipe the tears of people who lost loved ones that year. Annually, in the month of June, delegation would go to Inyan Kaga, the stone maker. And they would take some stones from there to PeSla. Pe is buffalo, Sa is gray, He is horn. So gray buffalo horn. Today it's called Devil's Tower. That's important to us because the pipe came from there. Today it's called Harney Peak, but in Lakota it's Hihan Kaga, the owl maker. You go there in spring equinox and you welcome the thunder back because the thunder would leave in the wintertime. So on that day, first day of spring, you ask them to come back. All of these places, everything that we work with is called Wakhan. Because we came from blood of Inyan. And when Inyan completed creation, Inyan got dry and brittle and scattered all over the world. So all these mountains around are Wakhan. The locations themselves are the relatives that help us. We don't have to build anything there. We just need to be with them. Well, me taku pi alampe tu ke taku wo yure. Imai ga picha ya. Dokel oakach ni renaishi. Aki praka. Henacha oagalake. Na nachla taku ota. Slow wise. Hot kaya Lakota trawichoka kilena. Unkuloni hokte. Unaya Tohoki ka nauki chijipina. Enagloha nauji mata. Unkichinja wakanja trakoja na nachji ukuk. Tena ochankoji washte abikt. Chahecho yalena yachamole takuni. Wakambloha naishi. Wash ake blohashni. Yakche chasha emacha. Utkalena toshke wakachni rewanechaya. Echua una ayopta. Echuacha me na wo chalaki. Glohamani. Chanke lampe tu kitaku tona ke soa ene chaya. Lelo agala ka chaya tona. Anagopta mena. Pila maya pelo. Oeche tuelo yake. Iwa chanto ashtana pechiza. Pila maya pelo.